In 1987, an 89-year-old man demanded his engineers build the most terrifying road car on Earth. They had 11 months. No electronic aids, no sound deadening, no compromise. The result, the Ferrari F40 became the first production car to break 200 miles per hour. Nearly 4 decades later, drivers who handle far faster machines still will not push it to the limit. The reason begins with a dying man's final command. Enzo Ferrari summoned his senior engineers to Maranello at the start of 1987. He was nearly 90, visibly frail, but his command left no room for debate. Build a car that would terrify anyone who was not a racer. Nicola Materazzi, the lead powertrain engineer, recalled Enzo's words as a demand for purity. No comforts, no electronic aids, nothing to blunt the machine's aggression. The brief was delivered not as a suggestion, but as a final order, and it landed with the force of a challenge. The team had less than a year, just 11 months from project kickoff to unveiling. Pietro Camardella and Leonardo Fioravanti at Pininfarina began sketching the first clay models before the ink was dry on the project charter. By March 1987, a full-scale prototype was already taking shape. The pace was relentless. Photographs from May 1987 show chassis assemblies lining up at the Maranello plant, months before the car's public debut. Every day mattered. There was no time for comfort features or luxury trim. Material choices were dictated by the stopwatch: carbon fiber and Kevlar for weight, steel for strength, adhesives for speed. The F40 was not just another anniversary special, it was the last car Enzo Ferrari would ever approve. When it rolled out on July 21, 1987, the world saw a machine that owed nothing to marketing and everything to a founder's uncompromising vision. The engineering team, led by Materazzi, delivered exactly what was asked: a car defined by urgency, rawness, and the looming shadow of its creator's legacy. The F40's 2.9-liter twin turbocharged V8 is not just an engine, it is a loaded spring waiting to snap. At idle and low revs, the car feels almost restrained, the turbos barely whispering their presence. But as the tax needle sweeps past 3,000 RPM, the character changes in an instant. Both Garrett T04 turbos spool together and boost pressure spikes with little warning. The power delivery is famously abrupt. Nothing, then everything at once. Drivers have described the sensation as a sudden gut punch, a wall of torque that arrives so quickly it can break traction even in third gear. There is no gradual build, no electronic smoothing. The F40's engine hits hard, and if your right foot is not ready, the rear tires will remind you who is in charge. Managing this volatility falls entirely on the driver. The 5-speed manual gearbox is the only filter between the engine's violence and the road. Each shift demands precision. Miss a gear and the engine drops off boost, leaving you stranded in a flat spot. Rush a change and you risk upsetting the car's balance at exactly the wrong moment. There is no paddle shift safety net, no automated rev matching. The clutch is heavy, the gates are tight, and the margin for error is slim. This combination of sudden turbo surge and manual control means every burst of acceleration is an event. The F40 does not offer power, it delivers a challenge. To harness the full force of its V8, a driver must anticipate the lag, time the surge, and commit to every shift. It is a test of nerve and skill, not just speed. In an era when modern supercars smooth out the rough edges, the F40's engine remains a relic of pure, unfiltered aggression, a machine that demands respect and punishes hesitation. Inside the F40, the cockpit strips away any illusion of comfort. There is no carpet, no sound insulation, no door pockets or radio. The dashboard is a simple slab of black plastic, the floor is bare, and every vibration from the engine and road travels straight through the thin composite panels. The bucket seats grip tightly but do little to cushion the driver from the constant shudder and roar. Even the windows are lightweight Lexan, operated by a sliding slot, not a winding mechanism. The only concessions to civilization are a pair of analog gauges and a Spartan air vent. At speed, the experience is overwhelming. The engine's mechanical shriek fills the cabin, turbochargers whistle, and dump valves chatter just inches behind your head. At 100 miles per hour, the car already feels tense and alive, darting with every camber change in the tarmac. Push harder toward the 200 miles per hour barrier that made headlines in 1987, and the F40's character turns from thrilling to intimidating. The steering grows heavy, the front end hunts for grip, and the car's lightness becomes a double-edged sword. There are no electronic aids to correct mistakes. Every input, throttle, brake, steering must be precise. Period road tests captured the shock of this exposure. Reviewers described the F40 as a racing car with license plates, warning that even experienced drivers felt on edge at triple-digit speeds. The claim of 201 miles per hour wasn't just a number, it was a cultural earthquake. The F40 became the first production car to officially break the 200 miles per hour mark, a feat confirmed by Autocar and Road and Track. For the public, it was more than a record. It was a statement that the limits of road cars had been redrawn and that the price of entry was total commitment from the driver. Ferrari's decision to unleash the F40 on the racetrack gave rise to a set of machines that pushed the platform far beyond road legal limits. The first of these, the F40 LM, was built by Michelotto for IMSA and Le Mans competition. Its bodywork sprouted deeper front splitters, massive rear diffusers, and a towering rear wing, each piece designed to generate downforce at speeds the standard car would never see. Weight fell to just 1,050 kilograms, thanks to a stripped interior, thinner glass, and the removal of every non-essential system. Under the rear clamshell, the twin-turbo V8 received larger IHI turbochargers, revised fuel injection, and a bespoke exhaust, lifting output to more than 700 horsepower. On paper, the LM could hit 229 miles per hour and sprint to 60 miles per hour in just over 3 seconds. GTE and Competizione evolutions followed, each tailored for different racing regulations. The GTE, aimed at the FIA GT2 and GT3 classes, featured carbon fiber wings, reinforced frames, and a power curve tuned for endurance. Output hovered around 600 horsepower, with the chassis still rooted in the original steel space frame, but braced for the violence of long-distance racing. The Competizione variant, built in parallel, wore even more aggressive aero and ran the full 700 horsepower tune, making it a fixture in GT1 events. Only a handful of these cars exist, each one a privateer's vision of what the F40 could become when freed from road rules. These racing derivatives established the F40 as more than a collector's trophy. They became cult objects among private teams who tweaked aero, swapped turbos, and chased lap times across Europe and America. The legend of the F40 grew not just in showrooms, but in the heat of competition, where stripped weight, expanded wings, and brute power turned an already intimidating car into a true track weapon. In the early 1990s, the Ferrari F40 could be found in classified ads for less than $250,000, a steep drop from its original sticker price, but a fraction of what was to come. As the supercar market softened during the recession, even low-mileage F40s often lingered unsold. Yet, by the mid-2000s, auction houses began reporting a sharp reversal. Registry data from 2005 shows prices climbing past $600,000, and by 2014, a pristine example crossed the $1 million mark at RM Sotheby's. The next decade saw values accelerate. In 2022, a 1988 model with minimal mileage brought $3.7 million. And by 2024, a 1991 F40 sold for $4.2 million. Today, the F40 is a blue-chip asset, with rare racing variants fetching over $5 million. For collectors and auctioneers, the car's financial ascent has transformed it from a driver's gamble into a coveted museum piece, one that owners now hesitate to risk on open roads. Modern supercar drivers, raised on a steady diet of electronic stability control and traction management, often approach the F40 with a sense of unease. Instructors at private track days report that even seasoned owners hesitate before pushing the car to its limits. The absence of anti-lock braking, traction control, or any digital safety net means every mistake is yours alone. The F40's high value only sharpens the anxiety. One wrong move can cost millions. Drivers accustomed to computer-managed grip discover a steep learning curve. The car's analog demands expose gaps in skill and nerve, forcing even experts to slow down, focus, and respect the machine. The fear is not just mechanical, it is psychological, a reminder that true speed, unfiltered, asks for everything a driver has. Today, the F40's value keeps rising, not just as a collectible, but as a warning. In a world obsessed with comfort and control, it reminds us that genuine thrill demands risk. Some legends endure because they refuse to be tamed. What would you dare to drive if fear wasn't a limit?